Yes, excellent. I'm so glad that you could tune in and for there's this fabulous show at David Jones Level 7, the Elizabeth Street store in Sydney. It's the Sculpture by the Sea. It's fabulous. But I've got one of the artists here. Her name is Pamela Lee Brenner, and she's collaborated with another artist, Emma Medwell, and they're part of BAM. So, oops. Pamela, how are
Hello.
you?
I'm well.
Tell us about the work that you've got.
Okay, the work we have in the Sculpture by the Sea on 7 was one that was it was shown at Sculpture by the Sea in 2009, and at that show it was called Inch by Inch, Step by Step Towards the Precipice, which is what they've named it in this show. But it has travelled around Australia. It was originally conceived of and met its birth in the Illawarra Art Walk and Thirroul Seaside Festival, and they are the shoes which have been, look as though they're made out of sand. So they're sand shoes, and they're originally
pretty spectacular.
Yeah, thank you, Fleur. Yeah.
They're really great.
Yeah. So there's about 100, well, it depends on the actual installation, but there's between 100 and 150 pairs of shoes.
Wow.
And they walk about the place in different kinds of shoes. They were originally made from donated recycled shoes, all donations.
Oh, okay.
And they're made with polyurethane. We're using waterproofing polyurethane, which then soaks into the shoe and binds with the shoe and the sand to become one solid piece. It's quite time consuming
it's really effective.
because they have to be hand coated and sanded back, and so it's quite time consuming to make. The original idea was about the sand shoes on the sand at the beach, so disappearing footprint. So there was a kind of environmental idea behind it originally.
No, that's a great concept.
Yeah. But of course, at every different location is a different installation, so it looks different. It has a different kind of feel, so it's had different titles, and it becomes, in essence, a new work every time it's installed.
I bet it does. I mean, that space at David Jones is quite large.
And it's a wild, large space.
Beautiful space. I'm sure that the walls and the ceiling would have been utilised a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, when I was first asked to put the shoes in the show, I had these fantastic ideas of them crawling out through the window, down the windowsill, down the walls, from the columns onto the ground, which would have looked spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why that didn't happen. There was, obviously it was a very short time frame to get the show all happening, and the curator had a notion that the piece of the shoes walking between the billboard which said "I am on an island, I am on an island," and the Mirador round piece, that beautiful
I remember that
piece, that the sand shoes would be like a shoreline or a tide line between the verbal expression of "I am an island, I am on an island," and Mirador, which becomes like the island. So that's I guess perhaps why it didn't come off the walls, but I think they would have looked spectacular coming off the walls.
It looks fantastic anyway. I was very impressed when I saw the exhibition the other day, and wow. And
it's a marvellous space. It's absolutely fantastic.
It's so beautiful.
And it's interesting to have the shoes inside as opposed to outside. It's a very different kind of environment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole persona of it changes.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So, have you been following this concept for some time, or was it?
Well, in terms of shoeness, the original shoe ideas arose from a piece that I did while I was still a student, which were ceramic shoes with household objects combined, and I was going to put them in the Herman's Shoe Show, but the year that I was going to put them in, Herman's decided to not have the show anymore. So
Damn you, Herman's!
And damn you, Herman's! Yeah, such a shame, because it was an excellent
so
show,
cool.
and I was really excited about it, and I'd been saving them up. But I did have a show booked with Emma. For later that year, so I said, look, I really want to exhibit these shoes, and she said, well, let's have a shoe themed show. So we did other artworks also about the shoe and exhibited them at that show, and we wanted to continue that on, and then a few years later, the idea of this invisible footprint and the sand shoes, we'd both been kind of working with, experimenting with sand on stuff.
Yeah. And
the idea of the sand shoes on the sand, the strand line, was a really strong idea, and we thought, well, we might do that at the Thirroul Seaside Festival, which is a lovely festival. So we started making them, and I think when Thirroul eventually arrived, it was about 20 shoes, which ended up coming from the grass down onto the beach and forming a line out to the surf, which was very interesting. And because that's only a weekend, they weren't attached to the ground or anything like that, so it was very interesting. And then later that year we put them into Sculpture by the Sea, and at that time they grew to 150 pairs, and they walked all the way down the hill in Gairloch Avenue over to the cliff, and the idea was about the fragility of life. It attained a quality of the fragility of life because they were near the precipice, and the precipice was an environmental, economical and emotional kind of precipice.
I'm so sorry I missed that show, but it would have been fabulous.
And it was amazing. What I was really excited about is that without really saying anything about it, because I don't think they actually have titles there, you have to get the catalogue to read the title, people just seemed to get it. They actually seem to understand, and that's really exciting for an artist, that people understand what the artwork is about without you saying anything.
That's great.
So that was very exciting about that. And then they went on tour around Australia. They went to Byron Bay for Artscape, up to the Gold Coast in Swell Sculpture Festival, down to the Vineyards for Sculpture in the Vineyards, and across to Perth to Cottesloe to Sculpture by the Sea in Cottesloe. So they had a bit of a journey.
Yeah, got a bit of exposure.
Yes, and now they've ventured indoors. Shoes in David Jones fashion store shoes. What more can you say? So it'd be really nice if David Jones, purchased a few and popped them in their windows. That'd be nice as well.
That would be great. That would be fabulous. So
they've had a good run, and we give them different titles. Sometimes they're more fun, more light-hearted, I guess, approach, but there's still the same essence of an environmental kind of theme with them.
I think it is it's very strong environmental message that you have portrayed. I loved the show. I mean, I saw it, I really enjoyed it, and it's just the location was fabulous. I missed the actual beachside version, but seeing this show was great, and I really appreciate it. So, but thank you, Pamela.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for letting me speak to you, and best of luck for everything that's going to happen. I've gone all.
Thanks.
Thanks, darling.
Cheers.